Yes. We were all surprised by the news. Obviously, it was made official very recently. But in your mind, when was the decision made that yes, this is the step we're taking?
After I had my son, so that was in June. I just kind of knew, like, the pandemic had hit and kind of really brought everything home, right? Put everything in perspective, like what's really important. And time is very valuable. And I'm like, look, you know what? I just feel it in my heart. I want to do this. I'm in a great position in my life. I don't have to do this. Dana didn't call me. Like, nobody's twisting my arm. Like, this is 100% because I'm in the best place I've ever been and because I want to do this.
It was interesting at the press conference yesterday. We were talking about like retired fighters and this and that, and he said, sometimes fighters come back for money, and that's a bad reason to come back. What is the motivation? I mean, I'm sure the money's not bad. A big paycheck won't hurt, but what is the motivation?
No, I literally had to hunt Dana down. He blew off like my first 5 Instagram messages. It was actually starting to really piss me off. I was like, Dana, I swear I will come. Like, do I not have the right number? I was like, what is going on? I was like, tell him I want to come back. But I think he was worried, I guess, probably that maybe I was in a desperate place and I needed to come back, so I think he wanted to know it was for the right reasons. And like finally I was like sat down with him and had that face-to-face conversation, and he's like, so what are you doing here? What? It's like, I want to fucking fight. I was like, that's what I'm doing here. And he's like, all right, it's kind of still like, you're not hurting for money. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm actually making really good money right now, with one championship, and this is because I want to do that. I want to come back and fight. I'm not sure if I answered your question. What was it? Yeah? Okay.
You did, yeah. And I mean, was it a decision you had toyed with? Because I know I saw your interview the other day on your show where you were talking about, hey, so much in life had changed that this felt like the right spot. But in the interim in between, had this been a decision you wrestled with at all, or did it just become now's the time?
I just didn't give it any I didn't feed into it, if I ever thought about it. Obviously, it was always the question I was being asked. So it was kind of like, if I know, I'll know. Like, there's never, like, I don't need to, like, wonder. I'm just that way. It's like people say that when you fall in love, like, you know. Like, it's the same thing with the sport for me. It's like I've fallen in love with the sport again, and I just know. Like, now is the time. I think the sport's been calling me for a while, and I just feel like now's the time that I want to come back and time to answer the call.
And what are the total aspirations? I mean, I think you said you've got 6 fights left on your current deal. I mean, do you want to fight out those 6 fights? I mean, are you thinking I can re-enter this sport at a championship level? I know your first fight, will be kind of an entry point, but do you feel like I'm making a title run out of this?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not here for anything less than gold. I want to be the best in the world. I'd love to say that I'm doing this because I'm a mom and I want to inspire my kids and all this, and that's like cherry on the top. I do. I want my daughter to see, what strong women can do. I want my son to also see and appreciate strong women. I want to be that role model for my kids, but it's not the reason I'm doing this. I'm doing this for me. I took 4.5 years off. I've got to sit back. I've watched this sport evolve. I've watched these amazing women, Joanna and Wei Li, like one of the best fights I've ever seen in my life. They've done such spectacular work, but I want to come back and add some spice to this division, and I want to be the greatest again. I want to be the best.
That's amazing. Last thing for me, I mean, how long do you see this run lasting? I mean, you mentioned the 6 fights, title aspirations. I mean, if you come back and win the title, would that be enough to say, hey, I did it, I got back there? Or do you feel like, no, hell no, I want to defend this thing and, run off 10, 15 fights? I mean, where do you see this whole thing going?
It's definitely difficult to know for sure what the future holds. And I know I've got to start on July 17th with Marion Renaud. That's what I know. I was like, that's where I have to have my goal set. Marion is somebody who can spoil your night if you take her lightly. And I can't do that. I cannot be, I can't pull a Sarah McMahon. And I've got to come out there, and I think I've got to have a very impressive performance. So I'm excited to do that. And when you talk about short term, midterm, long term, I'm always somebody who, I'm certainly, I'm looking a little bit into the future. I definitely want to give this 2 years. I want to become a champion. And I'm just going to kind of see where it goes from there. Again, I'm fly by the seat of my pants. I make decisions on the fly. I listen to my heart. I'm a passionate individual, and I know it's time to come back. I know I've got a lot of gas left in the gas tank, and I think the reason that I left the sport was not because I couldn't do it anymore. It's not because I was physically incapable. It was because I just had so many other things in my personal life. I was struggling with depression. I was having a really difficult time. And I just didn't have it to give anymore there. I didn't have the extra. And I knew that, and I was like, that's a very ugly place to be. So I needed to step away. I needed to cut ties with everything and start fresh. And that's where I'm at. You know, I'm back at Extreme Couture. I'm training, and my teammates are giving me wonderful feedback. They're like, shit, it's like you never left. You know, it's like, this is pretty cool. So I feel good, and I have a much better support system going in this time around than I did like my entire career. And look, I think, you know, what I was able to do under those circumstances just really leads me to really believe in myself, like what I can do under the right circumstances.
Hey, Miesha. How do you think your division has changed since you last fought?
How has it changed? Well, there's more ladies, but obviously Amanda has done a pretty damn good job of clearing out most contenders. So I think a lot of times people are like, oh, who next? You know, the obvious answer is Juliana Pena, right? She's got to be next. She has a similar fight style to myself in that, you know, we make fights messy. We like to get them to the ground at some point. And I think somebody who can put Amanda on her back is the most compelling matchup, because we see what happens when women just try to strike with her, right? It doesn't really work out very well. But as far as the division otherwise, it's, I think, in a bit of a, you know, it's a little bit of a lull. It's a little bit of ebb and flow, right? So I'm just excited to come back and add some spice back into the division. There's just definitely still a lot of talented ladies, and I'm sure I'll be working my way through those, you know, starting July 17th.
Upon reflection, do you wish you'd taken Dana's advice to not get your nose fixed before the fighting career ended?
No, I've appreciated my nose being fixed for the past four years, so that's been wonderful. So if I break it again, I'll fix it again. It's as simple as that. I plan on it. I'm pretty sure I will break it, because that's what you do in fighting, right? You get hit in the face, and that's okay with me. I've never shied away from it before. I'm not going to shy away from it now.
Hey, Miesha, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Do you actually still work for ONE? What is that situation?
Yeah, so ONE has been so supportive in this decision. I really appreciate that, because, I mean, I suppose if they really wanted to, right, could put the kibosh on it, they probably could. But no, Chatri has been all about me. You know, he's an athlete first too. So basically, I put in my 30 days. I have 30 more days with ONE Championship, and I talked to the UFC too, and I said, look, this is the right thing to do. I wasn't expecting the news to break as fast as it did either. I literally talked to Mick Tuesday night, and Wednesday it was out, and I had no idea it was going to come out, you know, that quick. So I was like, look, the right thing to do is to put the 30 days in. So I'm doing that. I'm going to finish out those 30 days with ONE, and then I will be released of all obligations and entirely, you know, ready to go with the UFC.
When you look at the division, obviously Amanda's still the champion. There's been some change. Are there some names, some faces that kind of intrigue you for matchups?
Yeah, I think Yana's been doing really good work. You know, she's improved in so many areas. She's got a kind of funky striking style. You know, she throws axe kicks, and she's improved tremendously on the ground too. Now I see her taking people down and dominating top position. She's top 5 ranked. Is actually a name that I was really I was interested in, but I think she already has a matchup, is what I was told. We did try to make that work, but you know, it's Marion, so that's who I've got to focus on now.
Have you entered back into the USADA pool yet?
Yes.
You have?
Yes, I have. Yep.
And there's a rule that the UFC can waive. It says that, you know, a returning athlete has to be in the pool for 6 months before fighting again.
Right.
What's the situation there? Are they going to waive that for you?
They are. So we're 4 months out from the fight. I'm sure I'll get plenty of tests. I'm sure I'll have lots of 6 a.m., you know, which is not as inconvenient these days, because my kids wake up at 6 anyway, so I'll already be awake. I remember I used to hate that, because I used to like sleep so late, you know, and all these things. Life is different these days, you guys. But you know, I think it's obvious that I didn't retire so I could like go and take drugs and try to come back, right? I mean, that's why they don't want you to do that. I had kids, I was so serious about the retirement, you know, and I'll take as many tests as they want. They can test me every single day, starting yesterday, and I'm completely confident, you know, that there's not going to be any problems. So we're back at it, and here we go.
Last question, very serious question. Who do you have between Ben Askren against Jake Paul? Who wins?
Oh yeah, very serious question. Look, I've been saying all along, I think Ben Askren. I know that's the probably the unpopular pick, but myself being a wrestler, look, we have different objectives when we go into MMA fights against people who we know are going to try to just strike. But when you just strike inside the gym, the striking is a lot better than what you're probably ever, or we will have ever got to see from Ben Askren in a fight, because he's always going to probably be looking to take the guy down, being such a phenomenal wrestler. I think the core strength a lot of times that wrestlers have, I mean, and he's going to be weird, right? He's going to be an actual athlete, a real serious guy who's, you know, been in there and trained with a lot of the very best strikers. If you think he's not used to having really, really high-level boxers and strikers throwing punches at him, you know, think again. I mean, this man has made a career out of not getting hit, and I think he'll do that. And I bet you he's going to go into that, and he's probably going to clinch and wear on Jake at first. I mean, if I was a wrestler coming into that fight, right, I'd be looking at like doing a little bit of the dirty boxing, and even just when you can pull on him for a little bit before the ref, right, separates you, right, he's going to pull him, then he's probably going to look to open up and just throw heavy, heavy punches. And I don't know. I think Ben can get it done.
Thanks, Miesha.
Yeah.
Miesha over here. I was curious, you know, we've seen a little bit sometimes when fighters are involved with different promotions. Did one ever try to get into like a free agency battle to see if they could get you to fight for them? Did they ever talk with UFC about that?
No, I mean, of course, I think one championship would have liked the opportunity, but, you know, I was very clear from the beginning that I retired, you know, in my contract, and that I still had 6 fights left, and that's kind of where we stood. We questioned maybe a grappling match at one point, and that never came to fruition. You know, the UFC was like, no, you know, if you're gonna grapple, it'll be for, you know, be on Fight Pass, and fair enough. You know, the UFC's definitely been such an instrumental part in making me who I am, and the reason that anybody cares about watching me. So I get it, and that's okay. You know, and there was never any kind of battle, no animosity, no bad blood. It was just, it is what it is.
People talk about the bantamweight division, and I'm sure you've heard this a lot. It's just not the same as when you and Ronda and everybody were kind of really running the show. I want to ask, do you feel like it's just been, for whatever reason, the talent seems to go to the other weight classes, or is it a little bit, you know, Amanda Nunes world, and that's her creating another star at 135?
I think when you have a long reigning champion in any division, it starts to get a little bit dry. And that's not just the women's 135. I mean, that's been historically, you know, the thing with any long reigning champion. When you just start taking out every contender, people are kind of like, well, what now? You know, we go to the number 9th ranked person, you know, to fight or something. It's like, so I don't think that's just like a problem the women's division has. I think that's a problem that any division with a very dominant champion will run into. But no, I mean, if Juliana Pena, she should be next. If she doesn't get it done, then I will. At some point, you know, got to stay focused, you know, but of course, that's the end goal.
Thank you, Miesha.
Okay. Thank you, guys.